Hey all, hopefully this is a nice quick one. Contrary to popular belief, I don't always film absolutely every piece of crafting that I do, and this young lady is no exception. I'll pull up a better photo so you can see her a bit closer. Reaper Bones miniature, it's the Highland Heroine. Now, I'm not too sure that I like the Reaper Bones stuff with that sort of rubberized plastic. The detail lines don't necessarily come out as crisp as they could be. I had to replace the sword blade on it because that just bent out of shape. They always seem to do that, and getting rid of the mould lines is absolutely horrendous. But I do think that she came out quite nicely. So this is Scary Mary, and she is a retired adventurer. Now, being a retired adventurer, she's going to be taking up some gardening, so let's get her some area to plant out. Now, this is a very quick project, as I said, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm making it up as I go along because I wanted to try this stuff out. This was on a clearance sale, $1 for Raffia wool, and what I want to do is just get a wee bit of a stock of it. I won't get all of it out, and what I want to do is just get some bits like that, so that essentially what I'm doing is creating, hopefully, straw. So there you go, I've collected a bit of straw there. Lovely messy stuff this. The bits get absolutely everywhere, so hopefully the cats don't get into it, otherwise the wife will kill me. So for this build I'm just going to be grabbing some old cardboard packaging, stiff card, so I'll get to cutting that up, and I'm going to make 2 garden beds. So we'll get that cut like that, and now it's time to warm up the hot glue gun. And what I want is basically a line around the edge, because I want a bit of a border to it. I'll come round in a curve on the edges, and basically this is just to give some kind of delineation between the garden bed itself and sort of whatever terrain it's sat on. And also, hopefully, what this will do, because I'm going to be using PVA to glue ground cover down, this sort of frame, if you like, of hot glue will be stiff enough to counteract any of the warping that PVA has a habit of doing. A line down the middle like that, and one out to the side, and one out to this side, and then come back to the middle and do a fatter line just there. Do the same with this one and the same with this one, and then come back to the centre one and put it on the top, so that we're actually building that up to give it a bit of 3D-ness. That's a good term, I like that, 3D-ness. I'm going to give it another row. Because I reckon that's going to be just a wee bit too slender. Yeah, I think that's more what I had in mind. Right, I'll let that set and get the stringy bits off. Now that I've got it all edged and those centre rows in, I am just going to use scissors, and I'm going to give it a wee bit of a trim round here, just to make it look a wee bit more organic and neaten it up. And the good thing about card is that if it does look as if it's warping in any way, you can just give it a wee bit of a flex. That's sitting far better. Now it's straight on to texture cover, and I am using neat. In fact, this is actually slightly old PVA, and the reason I'm doing that is because the watered down stuff may well get into the card and, you know, cause it to expand and deform. That's without what the actual PVA itself will do. Plus, watered down PVA does not adhere very well to hot glue. And then this is just straight sand. As I say, this is a very quick and dirty project to see how it works, if it works. And I'm not sure if it's going to work, but with material this cheap, it's worth a crack. Alright, I'll let that dry for a little bit. So the sand dried, and I've put a quick brown spray coat on there. And unfortunately, with the best intention in the world, there has been some warping, but we can deal with that later. Now what I've done is I've just made a quick wash of a darker brown, and I've used a wee bit of grey to desaturate the colour, and I'm just going to give this a once over on all of there, and that'll give us a wee bit of shading and highlighting, because the spray paint will show through with this being a wash, and that'll just give us a wee bit better of an earth texture. And then I'll let that dry. Any warping from the moisture will have taken place, and then we'll be able to adjust it. Okay, so that paint is almost dry, that wash coat. Now we are going to address that warping. Now I have broken out the trusty hairdryer. I'm using a hairdryer rather than a heat gun, because this gives a gentler heat and I don't want to burn my fingers or burn the piece. But the idea is, apart from drying off the paint thoroughly, it's just going to ease the glue, that hot glue that is around the edges and in the centre, and give it a bit of pliability, so we should be able to flex it back into shape. So here goes. And then just hold it nice and flat for a few seconds and let's see what happens. There, that's looking far better. We are at the stage of being almost done. Now, this is watered down PVA with a wee bit of detergent, and for the first bit of ground cover I'm just going to go around the edges here, this border area, and I'm just trying to catch the sort of ridge that we made. And of course, with this being PVA, there is the possibility that it is going to, you know, give a wee bit of warping like last time, but that's okay. We can just ease it off with the hairdryer once that's all done, and we'll get a wee bit of grass just around those edges like so. Then I'll do the other one and let that dry. On to the very last stage. Remember the raffia wool? It is now time to apply that, and it's a wee bit of PVA, and I'm just going to do these row by row, and I'm just applying it to the top of that raised area, and then grab some of the raffia wool, just putting it on in little clumps and give it a really good press down. Now it might need a couple of layers because I do want it to have a reasonably heavy coating, so I'll show you what it looks like once I've got it all glued down and I've got the excess off. So there you go, everything's now nice and dried. I trimmed off all the straggly bits with just a pair of scissors, eased it down so it was lying flat, and there you go. I didn't measure them, but that turns out as basically a 4x4 dungeon tile, or the equivalent thereof, because it's overground. And that is raffia wool, a new modelling material for you to use. I'll go get some photos done. Well, that about wraps it up for another video from me. If there's something you want to see me cover in the future, whether it's a particular project or a genre, pop a note in the comment section down below, let me know what you're after. If you're new around here, please consider hitting the subscribe button, like the video if you did, and if you really liked it, then there's another suggested one just there for you to have a look at. Either way, I'll see you guys in a little bit, or in a few seconds if you do watch that one. Toodle pip!